Hey everybody, I'm Bianca.
And I'm Latira, and welcome to Melanated Movie Moments.
Today we have a little theme because we are doing a love letter to somebody, correct?
Yes, we are. We are giving, writing, speaking a love letter to the amazing, the phenomenal Tina Turner, specifically because she just dropped her documentary, Tina.
Yes, yes. So y'all, if y'all have not seen it, go find where it is and
Yes.
go watch it because we will be talking about it. And as always, we are not going to give every single detail of everything, but I mean, it's still a spoiler alert if you haven't seen it at all. If you don't know anything about
it.
the fabulous, amazing, spectacular Tina Turner's life,
Listen,
don't get
listen,
mad
when,
at us.
listen, when I was a kid, I was like, if nothing else in this world, I want my legs to look like hers. If nothing else in this world,
With
I want my legs to
the
look like
arms and the gold.
hers. But I loved all of I loved it. But them legs, it was like, man. And
Look,
still I'm not going to say her age because a lady never reveals. Still, her legs are phenomenal.
to this day.
Right. I'm like, what you do? You do leg press? Like, how much you lift? So I can start lifting the same amount so my legs can look like your legs.
And I watched that thing and went ahead and did my squats for the day. I was like, I got to do
How many squats you do?
Don't worry about it, but I did enough. I did enough where I still
y'all,
feel
y'all,
it right now.
she did 2 squats, y'all. I
No,
just
I
want y'all to
didn't.
know
No,
that.
I
I'm just
didn't.
trying
Don't
to tell
listen to
y'all
the
the truth.
lies and deceit. Back to Tina, who, by the way, is a Sagittarius queen. I looked that up and found that out. Shout out to my Sagittarius. Come on.
See how I rolled my eyes?
She is a Sagittarius queen, so we cannot do slander. And Latira is not allowed to slander Sagittarius this whole episode because we are talking about Tina Turner, who is a Sagittarius.
Okay.
This documentary blew me away, even as someone that knows quite a bit about Tina Turner. Ever since I was a little like younger and keeping up with things, I'm a nerd, so I go down wormholes, and I still was in awe, in anger, tearing up almost, like pretty much sometimes. Like it just took me on a roller coaster of wow.
So yeah. For me, I felt like it was, you know how people was like, I always wish I could plan out how I say goodbye. That's what it was for me. It was like she was saying, look, I am owning me. I am owning who I am. I am owning Anna Mae Bullock, and I am owning Tina Turner. I am owning all that I am and all that I was. And I'm telling y'all, this is what I'm leaving you with so I can go off and live whatever else life I'm living for me.
Yeah.
She was like, y'all done heard the story. I done told y'all the story, but I'm gonna give it to you one more time.
One more time. Because y'all always want to ask about Ike, who I ain't even been with since like
1977 or something like that. Like, how y'all asking this woman about a man 20 years later? Like, she divorced him like 20 years ago, and y'all still asking her? Like, I get it. They were a great act. They were a great act together. But did y'all constantly ask him about her?
Right.
Y'all probably did. But still, that does not make it right, especially because the trauma that she had to endure. That's what bothered me about the documentary, is that she had to keep reliving that. And it was like, how many times do y'all want her?
I don't know. Has she ever gone on record to say she ever watched What's Love Got to Do with It, or no? Because there's a part in the movie where she says, I hadn't watched it, which makes sense. It makes complete sense to not rewatch it. She lived it, but
I was about to bring that up. My favorite thing in a documentary is when they show the scene of the premiere, and Tina Turner was there, and they had the beautiful, phenomenal Angela Bassett sitting next to her. And you can tell that she adored and loved Angela and approved of her playing her and embodying her as a character. But when they asked her, was like, well, did you watch it? And she was like, no, I lived it. Why do I need to watch it? And I was like, Auntie, you better tell them.
Tell the people.
That was like the best line in the documentary for me, because it was like, I appreciated her being like, no, this is my boundary. I gave y'all the story. Why do I need to watch the story? Like, I gave it to you. I wrote it. It's mine. Yeah. So I did. I love that part about the documentary when she shut that down.
She has some good quotes, zingers throughout. They had
she's very quotable.
One was really hit me. At one point she makes a quote. I wrote it down. Like I stopped everything. It was like, I'm writing this down. And it says, when during her time as with Ike, as Ike and Tina, especially when, you know, post-marriage and things had escalated to just a point of constant just abuse of all kinds, right? And she said, I was living a life of death. And they're showing the images that we all see of her on stage with the sparkles and her coming alive and dancing, and just like, you know, we look at people and their goals and all these things, but behind the scenes and that wasn't even the peak of her career, but at that time, they're hugely popular. You know, they're selling stuff out. They have show after show after show. And she just is like this amazing ball of energy and excitement and life. And they're saying about love and all these different things. And she says, I was living a life of death. And I was just like,
but you know, it's so funny. So like for me, like I watched her eyes throughout the documentary, right? Oh, yeah. Because especially when she dropped that quote, I was like, oh, let me look at her eyes. And you can see in her eyes, you can see her eyes, and you see her eyes brighten up when different people enter her life. So like when the one guy, cannot remember his name, became her first manager.
Oh yeah, the one that
and you could and you could see the difference in her eyes. You can see the difference in her eyes in her shows when she was with Ike and Tina, and when she was just Tina Turner, this almost 50-year-old rock star selling out stadiums. Like you could see the passion and the fire is different comparing to the two. So, and when she found her husband,
yes, and like she said with her first one, which is the Tina that younger me was familiar with at first before I knew the backstory. I'd heard Ike and Tina. Don't get me wrong, you can't avoid, like, you know, those songs, but you know, aging myself, you know, being a child in the 80s and stuff. The comeback Tina, which, as she said, it wasn't a comeback. This was my debut, because this was the first time she got to be who she, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, that was strong too. She was like, this was my debut album. This wasn't a comeback. It's my first time having control.
Correct.
And she was patient with her control because the dude had to fight with her. But then she found her little husband. Y'all, while y'all out here saying, I ain't found the one yet, maybe they just not born yet. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a little... you know,
I mean, maybe that's what it worked out for Tina.
Elementary, you might meet him about 15, 20 years from now, because he was like in his 30s. They have like a 31 year.
Switzerland
now?
I think it's Switzerland. Yeah, she gave up her U.S. citizenship and became a citizen. Her up,
on Wikipedia it says Swiss singer, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, she's a Switzerland citizen. She gave up her U.S. citizenship. And I think, and that's, you know, that was one thing about the documentary that I kind of did not know, is that while, you know, of course we love her, and to us she's timeless, in that time she was not celebrated in the U.S. She had to go overseas to really get the acclaim that she so deserved. And what I've noticed historically with a lot of our great celebrities, a lot of them had to go over to Europe and Asia and these other continents to get the celebrity they deserve, and then it finally transitioned and trickled back to the US after the fact, like a day late and a dollar short.
Yeah, the respect for her on the production business side was seemed to be more profound, like you said, in Europe, where he was just even like, I have some great producers, I have all these people, we can go over and do this, and they want to work with you. They're doing these amazing new sounds, and none of them were like, I can Tina, or Tina Turner's already 40, 50 years. Like it's like there was any of that overseas. Like you just said, in Europe, it was like incredible musician, talented, blew us away. Many folks around here have worked with her even back then and know her. And it's like, they were like, oh, we would love to play with this song. Even the producer, and they'll talk about it, like, you know, in their biggest songs, they hated it. Like, well, not they, she did not like, you know,
she didn't like that particular song. What I thought was funny, what was quotable, because we're speaking about that, she said one of the issues was her voice is not traditional. She does not have a traditional voice. And so a lot of times what she says, her voice is on the beat, not, you know what I'm saying? And she was like, they didn't know what to do with that. And she was like, and so when she first started to record that infamous song, she was just like, I don't like it because whatever. And he was like, well, sing it how you would sing it. And when she did that, it was just like powerhouse. What I found funny was that particular song, was actually recorded by somebody else. And I listened to it and I was like, they put that out? Like that was really a song?
It was
They
like
should never. They should act like what they did was a demo so somebody could know the words. I'm sorry, no disrespect, but
I was like,
it was bad.
That was great. I rewound it and watched it again.
But it's the one song that everybody knows. If you don't know that song, you don't know Tina. Period.
No, you don't. So yes, I definitely will say I highly recommend watching this gorgeous film. There's not a slow moment throughout.
It's not.
It was tough. I mean, you even hear from a couple of the kids, the sons who don't. I mean, and it's fun and it's interesting because in real life, I know that it seems like her relationship with her surviving sons, because one of her sons passed away, her first son, but hasn't always been close. Like if you follow outside of this, and not like contentious, just. I mean, she was doing like sometimes these things happen.
It was life imitating itself. Yeah, I feel like her relationship with her kids was very much life imitating her life, honestly, and she was being who she knew how to be. That
was it. But hearing him still talk positively of like moments they did have, and then he recounted like that was a scene. There was a scene that gets me where he recounted like hearing one of their worst fights or whatever, or him coming in and something, and just kind of hearing him, even though he's an adult. My head started hearing the words of a child, and they kind of showed the hallway, and it just was like that. That was the one
heartbreak.
Like,
yeah.
And they showed a picture of her where you can kind of see, like when you said you can
you can see the bruises.
Her,
with the makeup on it. Yeah. I think it was a perfectly done story. I think it was a perfectly done story. I think it was a perfect finale.
Yes.
I give you this finale. It was perfectly done. It was amazing to see her still amazing, still beautiful, still regal, still owning who she is and what she was. It was beautiful. And what I loved about her, and I did not know, like I knew that she had adopted or was taking care of Ike's sons. I did not realize they had all officially adopted, like all of the kids. So like, because her oldest son was one of the drummers.
Yes.
From the original group, and Ike adopted him and changed his name, and then she adopted Ike's other two sons. And I never realized that they really did all of that. So I thought that was one beautiful thing in that chaos. And so we can transition into the movie, What's Love Got to Do with It. I love how creative license kind of takes effect, because they make mention to that. They address the two boys' mom and everything like that, but they never really dig into.
They don't, and they also don't bring up the fact there was a daughter too that came up later to a woman that Ike married after Tina, like in real life. But yes, the movie there's some artistic license in the movie,
but it was very few.
It
was very few artistic license in that movie.
And a few things either make sense or I see where in edit, like when I watched What's Love Got to Do with It, I thought like they kind of imply like that first child is her and Ike's, and it's not. It's her. And
it's not.
But it kind of seems like more of one of those like we want to bring up her having children and having the babies, but we don't want to spend like the time of probably showing that and doing like so. It seemed like it was more of one of those. It wasn't like we were trying to wipe it. It made sense cinematically in the telling of the story. It did.
Yeah, and like even with like one of the scenes. So like realistically, I thought they took artistic license when she jumped up and sang the song. And when she was like, no, this will really happen. Like they put the mic down and I grabbed it and I sung it. I was like, oh, that really happened. Like, I mean, they might have put it in a different place.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that was like how they almost met, but that scene still occurred.
The scene actually
like,
happened.
She
actually picked up the mic and was like, look, I'm going to sing. And she said, I know you love me, baby. Mm-hmm. And the rest was history. So I do like how already knowing the story.
Yes.
Watching the movie when I was younger, we all were probably way too young when we watched this movie, because when I realized that this movie came out in 1992, 93.
I'm about to tell you, but yes, when 1993,
So that movie came out in 1993, and not telling my age, but just understand that I was not a teenager yet, and I should not have watched it. With that said, watching the movie when I was too young to watching it as an adult, as a teenager, and as an adult, because of course that's a classic. That's one of those movies you can watch over and over again. It is. It has great quotables. I still say, "Eat the cake, animated people." Probably not funny, but I say it. But then going back and seeing her documentary, Tina, recently, I could see so much of the story in the movie. Like, they did a really good job in 93, creating a biopic of someone that was very true to the story.
What's Love got to do with it has definitely stood the test of time, because there are other websites that do like the critical aggregate website. I'm trying not to just shout out other websites, but it's one that puts all the reviews together and gives you a percentage. But it has a 97% like approval rating on there, which is really hard.
It should.
Like, and fun fact, kind of sad fact in some ways, but I get it. Movie industry's hard. Fun fact, and in the comments, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, and I think I'm right because I usually am. But anyway, Sagittarius energy. But it's the only film that I believe that both, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to call him what he was called at the time. Larry, who became Lawrence after this movie. Go look back. In Boys in the Hood and stuff, he was Larry Fishburne. When this movie
He was Larry. He was Larry now.
He became Lawrence during this time. But so Larry, now let me respect him, Lawrence Fishburne and Angela Bassett is the only movie they were nominated ever in their storied history for Academy Awards. It's their only Academy Awards nomination ever.
I believe so. Ever. I believe so.
I'm talking about, don't hit me in the comments about some Golden Globes and stuff. I said Academy Awards.
Academy Awards.
It's the only time either one of them has been nominated for one ever.
Oh.
Yep. And by the way, I could not stand Larry Lawrence, his parent, whoever. I could not stand him in this film. And afterwards, it took me a second. And it was funny because I don't recall him really playing bad guys too much before that. I know he's played a lot of characters. I could not stand. I saw him after and was looking at him crazy, like he was literally Ike when I was younger. Like I was,
the next time I actually liked Lawrence Fishburne was when he was in the Matrix as Morpheus. I'm gonna just tell you, I'm gonna just put it out there. That's when I liked you again, because I was like, Ike Turner. Ike Turner.
He had to come and try to save the world to get us back.
Listen, and that's what it was. That's the only reason I liked you, because you went and you saved the world. But otherwise, no, I did not.
But when a film is able to take someone that does such horrible things, and I still see them as a person, like a human, not just like some mythical boogeyman that's in the dark. I think it's more powerful. This man was smooth. This man was a dreamer. This man worked her brain at the beginning, and it got increasingly worse, but in ways where she's second guessing herself. She says it in both the documentary and you see it in the film. I'm trying to take care of you sometimes after you've done these horrible things, because you have done such a Jedi mind trick to me that is like, I'm sitting here like, well, maybe I did upset, maybe I just need to know when to stop. It's kind of like.
But I'm glad that she was able to find her forgiveness in the sense of, one, she forgave him, and she understood years later that there were some things, some mental health, emotional health issues that he had to deal with that he did not know how to deal with, and understand our society did not speak to going to therapy and working through those things, which on this show we support. Everybody should have a therapist. I'm just saying. But also in the documentary, and I think you can see it in the film. But mostly in the documentary, she speaks on forgiving herself and understanding that she only knew what she knew, and she could only be who she could be in those moments with the knowledge she had. But my favorite thing about her is something my mama says, and y'all know Miss Minnie always has something. My mama said when I was younger, and she said this my whole life, she was like, when enough is enough, enough is enough. And I used to be like, man, that don't make no sense. Like, what are you saying? And Tina embodied that when she ran across a highway, which is talked about in the documentary and in the movie. When you run across a highway, busy highway, not caring if a car smacks you dead, just to get away from this person who has literally abused you for decades, enough was enough for her. And she never looked back.
When she
And
falls
she
back in
never
that
looked back.
car, which is also in the movie, that I still remember at the time in the movie being a kid, like, oh, here you like it.
But you know, at that moment, I did not know if enough was enough. He was shocked, but I didn't know if enough was enough. Because, okay, I fought back, but it's when she went in the room and she started cleaning her face at first.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, she's just gonna clean her first and go along. But then when she saw her face and when she looked in that mirror and she looked in her own eyes,
yeah,
that switch hit and she was like, I'm out. And for me, it was like, that was the embodiment of, I am strong enough for myself to protect myself. And I love that moment in the documentary, the way she spoke about it, but I loved it in the movie.
So and yes, they were actually in Dallas during that part, that highway, that scene, that thing. They were in Dallas. Shout out to I'm in Dallas, Texas right now.
So shout out to Texas.
Shout out to Texas. Just saying.
Yeah. And then we just found out that they actually have a portrait of her in the hotel that she ran to save her own life, which is amazing. That is amazing. And I want to shout out that hotel owner, manager, worker, right? But she had 38 cents in her pocket and a stick of gum. And this man still made sure she was okay. Yeah, because honestly, we wouldn't have this story if she didn't get out at that moment.
We might have a very different story, especially as this drug use escalated. This drug use got progressively worse even after she left. So, I mean, you don't know where this could have gone.
Yeah, we would not have had this story if she did not get out. And honestly, you know, I mean, we might not have her still if she didn't get out. Again, like I said, I feel like her documentary was her, I love the world. I appreciate you for appreciating me. But now I'm going to go ahead and enjoy my time with my amazing husband, who, by the way, fun fact, gave her a kidney, that is like an ultimate gift, to give someone one of your bodily organs, you know? And so that was beautiful of him. But I think
that's a minute, that marriage probably like,
oh, listen. Because look, you gave me your kidney
for all your days.
We together forever if you got one of my kidneys, okay? But I think for myself, it's just it's amazing to have someone who is inspirational, who has a story that is similar to many, who spoke on her story. But for me, it was like a story of redemption, a story of self-love. And I think she's still on that journey, just the way she speaks, she's still on that journey. But I think it was beautiful of her and eloquent of her to share again the story about herself and her life with us, and I appreciate her for it. I think it is amazing, and I love when artists are willing to expose and be transparent, all of the cracks and the creases, because sometimes you don't want people to see the darkness, but she's okay with seeing the darkness because she knew she found her light, and she was like, and I'm going to live in it. And I thought that was beautiful. And what I loved is how long she performed and how amazing she was. Like,
until not that long ago, honestly.
Right.
Like,
but in her,
they're kind of helping and walking stuff. I mean, like, literally, I would say within the last decade, we still saw her doing things. Like, all I got to do is ask Oprah, because Oprah might be the biggest Tina Turner fan I've ever seen.
I believe it.
If you have not seen Oprah, whether it's on her show, whether it's her now, be around Tina Turner, you will watch Oprah, the biggest, I would say arguably one of the biggest Black, if not the biggest Black international name, she turns into just an in-awe fan. It's really cute to see, but like, if you've never seen it, watch it. She literally is like this, like,
I love, and I think it's amazing. But I think she's worth it. I think that Tina Turner is worth all of the celebration that any of us give her. And actually, she's probably worth more, and we haven't given her enough.
We have not. And Tina, you know, we thank you for sharing your story. Again, for anyone out there going through things, no, you don't you don't have to reveal your traumas of the world. But for people that feel the call to, for whatever reason, it's a hard thing, but it really does spread like light in the concept of survival. Like, you don't know who you might see out there or who hears your story. who thinks they're alone or who thinks I can't believe I've gotten myself into this. And so to hear other people not only have gone through it as well, but have found ways out can be, just extraordinarily powerful. And even other parts of her story, because like she made a point where she said, and this, so many parts of the documentary with the movie and stuff just hit me, especially like you said, as an adult going back and rewatching the movie for this and thinking about the documentary and being older now. But she made a comment like where she was struggling with herself after she had got out of this. She had, her career was coming up, but she was saying like, I was wondering when I was going to feel like love, like real love. She talked about her relationship with her mother and feeling like she didn't feel, real, true love from her, like love, not for what she can do, not for what her talent, but just her at her core. For Anna Mae, with there's a part that shows her with her hair off, without the makeup, with like her at her core, and was saying that she just thought at one point that, maybe that's just something I'm not going to experience. Maybe that, and it wasn't a sad way. It wasn't like, oh, I'm okay with now, but it's like almost like, okay, this is my life. Then, I'm going to take the good, I'm going to push on, but maybe it's not for me. And it was before she met
her husband.
And I would even say her managers and stuff later, she started to see people who really cared about her, but just initially, like, I want to say she was probably into her, and not just when she met him, but probably into her 40s, almost late 40s.
It was her 40s when she met the manager.
Yeah. And like during that time, even having a manager that like fought for her and really cared about her, the person, meeting this man who genuinely, like this younger guy, but who genuinely seemed to be like, no, he really likes me and all these things. And it was just one of those things of like, don't give up. I know people are like, well, I don't want to wait too much, but it's just the idea of like all the things she went through, not just the person who now we're not going to be naming for the rest of this, but like even as a child through that later, getting success on one. How many of us can think about like success in like your career or your professional while your personal is, trying to figure out, okay, I guess maybe it's just not for me to get both. And she still found those things and she still kept believing herself, and she found through Buddhism, and everyone needs to find something, right? Like you said, through therapy, through whatever, to find some inner love in herself. And it seemed like once she found that, that was the thing that was like, okay, even without these other things, the things I control is I'm going for my dreams. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to treat me right. I'm going to be respected. And it was like, I'm going to focus on those things. And then other stuff still end up coming to her later. And it was beautiful, but finding that inner peace and that something that got you through those hard times where you could rest and say, I just felt like, even through bad things, at some point it was going to work. Like her career stuff, even with these no's and stuff, she was like, it was frustrating. She didn't lie and say that, but she was like, but in my mind, I just knew it's going to work out. Tina Turner, her artistic set the stage ablaze prowess. No matter what is going on, baby, you gonna get a show. All my energy, all my heart, all my everything is going to be, I'm going to become the music. I'm gonna
because she's gonna have that sweat right there on her lip, right there.
I'm gonna become the songs. Whether you look back at the videos when she was still in that band, whether you look at her by herself, she is one of those that she could be having the worst day ever. She could be ill, but when she hit the stage, baby, the music becomes her and she becomes the music. That's the thing that her and Beyonce have in common. Correct. Because Beyonce is one of those performers too, that again, baby, when the music hits, my whole body, spirit, energy turns in, like when she says the Sasha Fierce thing, but it was just all the other stuff goes away and I focus on the music, the craft, the art, and my fans and the energy. And so to have them two on stage, you're right. That was TNT and Fire, fam, and it was beautiful. Like, baby, that reminded me when I saw a long time ago, Mariah and Diana Ross did something on the stage a while back, and they had these LeMay dresses on side by side, and their energy was like, yes, divas. Like it was just something about the energies matched, even though they were different, but it was something that, but Miss Tina to Queen, Tina Empress.
Listen, all of the titles.
All the things. We love you. We appreciate you. You did not have to share your story. You owe us nothing. You have given us so much already, but we appreciate you continuing to tell your story, to keep your crown on, and not just crown on, but crown on straight, to never hesitate to also straighten the crown of others. to uplift other queens, to live your life, to know and show there's something better, and to love yourself. And we love you, and we just do. And thank you for doing the documentary, because you didn't have to. Thank you for writing your book and allowing your story to be told. Thank you for allowing What's Love Got to Do with It to even happen, because again, those decisions you did not have to do, and you shared it with us. You shared a message, you shared a gem. You also, I mean, think about how that movie, What's Love Got to Do with It, impacted the careers of the people that had something to do with it. Like, these things have ripple effects that just go out. And so we thank you and appreciate you. And I enjoyed that movie. That movie does stand the test of time, but watching it with the documentary, if you all haven't seen both, please go watch the documentary. It does.
But we want to thank you all for watching today's episode of Melanated Movie Moments. Make sure y'all keep checking us out.
Follow us, click and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, there's like a little bell or something down here. Click on that.
Set them notifications. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Melanated Movie Moments. And you can also email us your movie suggestions at melanatedmoviemoments@gmail.com.